Water scarcity is a serious problem in itself, of course, but it could also have devastating consequences for global food production and supply. For more, I'm joined from Stockholm by Dr. Alistair Morrison, Programme Manager at the UNDP Water Governance Facility. Alistair, thanks for joining us. Now, some research suggests that there will not be enough water to produce food for the world's expected 9 billion people by the year 2050. Is that something that you would go along with?
It's hard to predict exactly how things will develop. I mean, advances in food technology, irrigation could make things better as long as we organise and govern ourselves properly. Climate change as well might benefit a few countries, but it's going to impact pretty negatively on a lot of people.
That kind of research, I mean, many people would say that that's scaremongering. I mean, previous research of that kind about global food shortages have proven to be inaccurate and they've failed to take into account the technological advances.
Well, I mean, research enabled those technological advances. So, I mean, research can help us. Responsible research, scientific advances could help us address these challenges, but we need to pay due attention, invest and develop solutions before we get overcome by these problems.
But of course, I mean, there is no doubt there is a problem with water scarcity and the impact that will have on food supply. Do you have any sense of what that will mean for food prices?
I would expect prices to continue to rise and pressure, especially on the poorest countries who have to import food to keep on growing.
And what can be done to mitigate that?
I mean, reducing wastage of food. You have a very large percentage of food is actually lost between the field and the fork. Better food management processes, refrigeration, reduce food losses during the supply chain. All of that could help actually make sure food that we grow actually gets eaten and not wasted.
Now, the Stockholm Institute suggests that a reliable system of food trade would also help. What needs to change in global food trade?
Well, there are a number of cases where food is grown really in uneconomic and sometimes also unenvironmental places. Some countries irrigating large areas of desert. I've visited some countries that want grand irrigation schemes where perhaps they should concentrate their comparative advantages elsewhere, and we grow more food in the areas where it's actually easier and more natural to do so. And other countries develop other skills and we trade amongst ourselves.
You mentioned a second ago that you think food prices will continue to rise. Where specifically are we talking? What crops specifically?
I'm not actually an expert on which crops, so I'm more on the water and irrigation side, so you'd have to speak to one of my colleagues about that.
Okay. Just to finish up, there's also a suggestion out there that a global shift to vegetarianism would help, help in this situation here, would be an answer. Do you think that's likely?
There are shifts. I mean, it's probably more countries, it's acceptable, but there's also many countries like in Asia, more and more meat is being eaten, and it's a lot of an awareness. I mean, people are not necessarily aware how much water goes into each item of food they're eating. In those countries with a water shortage, perhaps people should look at their eating habits. That could mitigate against some of the worst effects of water shortages.
OK, Alistair, thank you very much for joining us. My thanks there to Alistair Morrison, talking to Reuters from the World Water Week Forum in Stockholm. That's all from us for now. I'm Jamie McGeever. This is Reuters.